Don't you wish we invested in Zoom 6 months ago?
I'm telling you, seriously. You know what's interesting is I've been using Zoom for years.
Really? I'd never heard of it until like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, as we used Zoom as a backup at the Language Institute, starting when we had some horrible ice storm that caused us all to have to not go into Nashville. We couldn't drive, and we just started using it as the backup plan. If you had to have class and you couldn't be in the room, you did Zoom. And then I showed my mom how to use it, and so we zoomed before FaceTime.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. It was easier because I
Yeah.
knew it. She was not comfortable on Facebook, and so it was just we zoomed, and you can do it phone to phone or whatever. Yeah,
It's incredible. I like it better than FaceTime.
yeah, I do too. I do too.
We're our gym, it's a CrossFit gym in Manchester, and they've asked the gyms to shut down, and I think that's probably appropriate, um, especially those type of gyms. And so each night at 5:30 we Zoom class, and we've been working out. We're not together, we're each in our own space with our phones or our laptops or whatever up with everybody there, and the coaches are there encouraging and instructing, and
Cool.
it's incredible. But and that's these kind of things are some of the positives that I see. And man, I got to tell you, Aaron, I know this whole thing is scary, and you and I are both dads to young kids, and that just adds a whole new set of responsibilities and maybe fear if we let it go to fear. But so of course that stuff's there. But man, I got to tell you, I see so many positives from this experience.
Yeah.
Now I hope 6 months from now we're not eating our words and the world has fallen apart. I don't know, but I've spent more time playing with my kids at night
Mm-hmm.
in the last 2 weeks than I have in the last 2 years. Having real conversations with people. My wife and kids haven't left the house in 2 weeks, and that's a wonderful thing
Yeah.
because they typically are never home.
Okay.
I don't, I could go on, but I don't know. And I don't know what your church is doing with this, but it's interesting watching a couple of churches I'm involved with having to juggle and get creative and think outside the box on how to serve each other and teach and that kind of stuff, and through Zoom and
Yeah,
stuff like that. So,
we're using Zoom. We usually go and witness from door to door. We're not doing that now. For love of neighbor, we go. For love of neighbor, we're not going. Right? We don't want to
sure,
spread anything.
sure.
But we're writing letters and calling and having conversations with folks, and people want to study the Bible. We're using Zoom now. Or Facebook or the telephone or whatever. But there are lots of
Yeah.
ways to talk. But we've had to have our meetings online, and that's new for us. But technology is amazing. It's allowing us to continue to meet together, and where two are gathered together,
That's right.
even if it's virtually,
Yeah.
right? So
It's interesting.
it is.
And, the guy that I ran this with this morning, he's the pastor of a church in Murfreesboro. I don't go there. He and I have just become friends, and um, he's one of those guys. He's smarter than I am. He's stronger than I am. He's a better runner than I am. So that's the kind of guy I want to be around. He makes me better. And he's a couple years older than me, and he's a pastor of a pretty good sized church. And we were talking about this. Man, what if this is what brings on a really change in people's hearts, as far as changing their mind and their hearts towards the Lord. um, and also, what if someone would watch a video on Sunday morning or Saturday night or whatever of a sermon or teaching from the Bible that normally wouldn't go to church. I don't know, the more I look at this thing, there are opportunities in this situation.
Yeah.
There are some hassles for sure, but there's also some opportunities. And I don't know, maybe there are opportunities for you in your business, and maybe there's opportunities for me in my business to do things different, maybe more efficient, better, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to stay aware of those things, but I don't know any other way to look at this other than how can we be better from it and through it, you know? So
Yeah.
I'm not on the gloom and doom page.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm not either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think anytime, every business, every organization has to adjust to changing circumstances, and if they don't, then they don't continue to stay in business. We
Yeah.
saw that happen with Kodak. Kodak invented the digital camera,
Yep.
right? And now they were so tied to film that they just wouldn't let it go.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
and we can't do that. I think we are finding ways to do things better.
Yeah.
And if we have not been thinking about something as simple as our hygiene as we meet people and we go from one house to another house, well, we're thinking about it now. And I
That's right.
think that wise people will continue to implement the practices that are necessary as we go forward, even when all of this stuff is behind us. And it's going to get behind us.
That's right. That's right. And I really feel like this is interesting that this has come up. This is something that I've talked to my guys about. And I'll tell you this too. I don't know how other, most other home inspection companies, most of them are just one or two guys, and I was like that for a long time.
Can I stop you for a second? Because
Yeah.
we didn't actually introduce you.
Okay.
So if you're watching this and you haven't noticed that Brent might have a home inspection company, you go ahead and tell us what that is.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. My name is Brent Scott. I'm with Premier Home Inspection. We will be celebrating our 13th year, I believe, if that's right, in May, which is incredible to even think about. Such a blessing. I've got 4 kids. The home inspection part's the boring part. The fun part is I've got 4 kids. My wife and I celebrate our 21st year anniversary this coming April 17th. I got that right. Um, we live in Coffee County. We lived in Murfreesboro for a very long time and we loved it. And we've been in Coffee County for about 5 years now. We live on the far north side. We're almost in Rutherford County. We just couldn't afford Rutherford County to get any land. What else? We have, going back to the home inspection piece, we've got 5 inspectors. We also do mold and radon testing, and we service all of Middle Tennessee, every county that touches Davidson, Rutherford, and Williamson. That's our service area. Um, I am obviously very biased, but I believe we've got the best crew of guys in the industry. They are, to me, they're like family, and that's kind of how we run it, and that's how I treat them. And um, so I feel incredibly blessed to have the crew that I've got. And going into this Corona thing, it was very comfortable for me to once we realized when the governor said, "Hey, we're going to put some restrictions on what businesses can operate, which ones can't." I looked at that real close, and I feel like we fell under a couple of those essential labels under the construction piece and under the real estate piece, obviously. And I feel like it's true. I feel like it is justified. A big part of what home inspectors look for are safety items. It's not just a leaky P-trap or something like that, but legitimate fire and safety concerns, stuff like that. So it was very comfortable for me to contact my guys and say, "Listen, gentlemen, if you're not comfortable working, that's fine. Don't. Um, and if you want to continue working, these are some of the policies that we're going to go forward with." And some of those policies are we wear gloves at each inspection, surgical type gloves, and we wear masks. Some of the guys are wearing the full blown respirators, which is probably way better than the little N95 paper mask that I'm wearing and a couple other guys are wearing. Of course, we wear the booties. That was typically a policy before, just so we didn't mess people's um, carpet up. But now it's more of a hygiene thing. We also have tons of the sanitation wipes. I think my laptop and my cell phone and my tools are cleaner than they've ever been. We are constantly wiping those things down. It was funny. There are a couple of tools that we use just constantly during a home inspection: outlet testers, thermometers, that kind of stuff. And I've caught myself wiping those down, and I've just thought how funny it is not funny is the wrong word, but just, caught me off guard that I need to wash these things. But it's important to keep those things clean so that we're not, bringing maybe the virus from one place to the other. We're doing everything that we can do, um, common sense wise, to avoid spreading it. If we come in contact with someone, of course, we're not going to know that, but we're doing everything we can do to not bring it from one place to the other. Our main goal is to keep the people that own these homes that we're inspecting, to keep them safe. We want to keep the agents safe. And of course, we want to keep our clients, which is typically the buyers, we want to keep them safe. And to that note, something else that we've done, um, Monday or actually Sunday afternoon last week, is I implemented another policy in our office. We are strongly encouraging no one to show up at the inspections.
Yeah.
And we've only had one person give us kickback on that. And that's okay. That we can deal with that too. That's okay. It's their right to be there. We're not the police. We're not going to, but we do have the 6 foot rule and that kind of thing. And for the other folks that agreed to follow that policy wisely, I think we call them. We send out the report. We give them a call, and at that point, we're able to go through everything that we found, just like we would have if they were there. And it's honestly probably a lot more convenient for them, and certainly in this situation, safer. So, those are some of the things that we're doing, concrete, hands-on kind of stuff, that just trying to keep ourselves and everybody safe, and also follow the community guidelines. I think it's important. But another thing that we're trying to focus on, and I know you and I talked about this a little bit before we started recording, is we're just trying to be a light in this situation. We're trying to be positive. And also, a word that I've been using is we need to be a pretzel right now. We need to be flexible and do whatever we need to do to make things work for folks. Um, when things are rocking and rolling and everything's easy, it's easy for professionals to maybe get a little bit prima donna, even maybe. And that's not the time for. Now's not the time for that. Now is the time for us, guys like you, real estate agents, home inspectors, appraisers, pest control folks, whoever. I think it's a very important time for us to be very flexible, and really put other folks' needs ahead of ours for right now, so that we can get the job done for these folks. And while we're doing that, be as positive as we can. I know you and I talked before we started recording. Neither one of us are on the doom and gloom bandwagon on this. This will be over. This soon will be past us.
Yeah.
And I think staying positive, seeing the light, being the light. There's a beautiful little baby just walked by.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love your social.
And Maya Pearl.
Yeah, man.
This is the home office. So I was,
Right.
I think when kids come through, that is just what it is.
That's right. And what we were talking about before too. There are so many positives. If we look for them, there are a lot of positives through this situation, man. I played with my kids the other night. They're a little bit stir crazy. I have 4 kids. We live in the middle of nowhere, and that's intentional. We enjoy that. So they're able to be outside and that kind of stuff, but they're still stir crazy. Even my 15-year-old daughter, who thinks she's 25 years old. I think it was Wednesday night. We did virtual youth group, which was really fun. Through social media with the church we go to.
Mm-hmm.
Then we played a game where we turned off all the lights in the house and we played hide and go seek. I'll be 50 in a couple of years. I was playing hide and go seek with my kids with a flashlight. There's nothing negative about that.
Well, wait a minute. Was that the one where you went, sat down, and said it was their turn? You went to hide, you went and sat down and took a nap in the chair?
Yes. That was on maybe the 4th or 5th round.
Okay.
And I was it. So if I'm it, I get to do what I want to. But yes, and looking for those kind of opportunities to engage your family, just and to engage your kids. And I'm gonna tell you something else. I know we're getting off the subject of home inspections and real estate and all, but I think it's important to remember that our kids that are old enough to be processing this situation, they may be more scared than we are. They understand things are different, things are scary, and if the TV's constantly on, they're hearing that stuff too.
Yeah.
So there's some definitely some positive things that we can do to be a light in this situation, and that's something that I've been focusing on with my guys out in the field, with our office manager, um, and as I'm talking to agents, as I'm talking to buyers, and I did a home inspection yesterday for a first time home buyer, and she couldn't come to her home inspection. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
So I spent about an hour with her on the phone talking. That's an exaggeration. It was probably 30 minutes. I want to be accurate on this. Probably about 30 minutes on the phone with her, talking about maybe two things, two little items in her house that had her concerned. First time home buyer, they just got married. She's been out of college less than a year. Um, and we need to do those kind of things, and we need to be encouraging and do whatever we can do, like I said earlier, to serve the folks. So I don't know, that's kind of what we bring to the table, or that's what we're trying to bring to the table. I know there are some inspectors around that have just shut down, that have just decided we're just going to step back and quarantine, and maybe that's good. I don't know. I don't feel like we have. I don't know. I just feel like it's important for us to keep doing what we're doing, do it better. And something else you and I talked about, I think before you started recording, is it's going to be interesting for me as a business owner to step when this is over, right? When this is or going back to some normalcy, to take a step back and to see what did I learn through this that I can do better? How can I maybe serve folks better now? And um, so that's going to be interesting too. And I think that'll make us all better and stronger, and hopefully we can serve our clients better. So
Yeah. Well, I think
it's
we'll
kind of,
see some efficiencies, like you said. The
yeah.
I've actually done this Zoom format at a home inspection before. Reggie, one of your inspectors, was doing the inspection. The client couldn't be there, and so we used Zoom. And
That's
I
awesome.
think she was in Michigan at the time, and so she and her father and their brother got to look at the inspection report, because you can screen share and stuff like that. Got to look at it live and have conversations with the inspector, and actually walk over and go and look at a couple of things. So who knows? Maybe that'll become a regular feature, and we can make it more efficient for the clients. They don't have to show up every time there's an inspection. Maybe, I don't know.
I think that's fantastic. I mean, that's, being in Middle Tennessee, and I want to speak to that a little bit more in a minute, some more positive stuff. But, we've been serving people that are moving here from out of state that might have found the house. I don't know how many deals you've done, but I've done several inspections, like lots of inspections over the years. They've never even seen the house, the
Yep.
people buying it, and never even seen it. And the idea of being able to use a technology like this or FaceTime or whatever for us to serve them, we come and do the inspection, and it's hard to describe a cut floor joist over the phone. But when
Mm.
we can show them a picture, or share a screen like you're talking about, well, when I tell you you've got a cut floor joist, that might sound like the end of the world, but then you actually see it, and then I'm able to describe it is cut. It needs to be, and I'm just using that as an example, but it's cut. It just needs to be repaired, and here's a possible solution to that. Well, it brings kind of the anxiety down a little bit, and they're able to see. I think that's awesome. I'm kind of excited about what you just said. I didn't know Reggie did that. That's really cool.
I'm
Um,
happy to help you set it up if you want to.
yeah,
Do it. Yeah, it is cool. There are going to be some good opportunities.
yeah.
Um, have you with the current situation the way that it is? I think we are seeing fewer showings right now. Has that also translated into your business, or has it been level for you?
So this time of year, for let's say the last 7 or 8 years,
Hmm.
has been almost uncontrollably busy
Yeah.
for all of us in Middle Tennessee, for the most part, as far as home inspectors and real estate agent and everything. Right now, I feel like we've run about maybe a 2 to 3 week window of what we're seeing with what the norovirus thing is doing as far as affecting the real estate market in Middle Tennessee. And my short answer is yes, we're seeing a slowdown for sure. This past week was, if we were in February, last week would have been a busy week.
Mhm.
But for mid to late March, last week was slower than normal. The week coming up is noticeably slower. So, we've kind of expected that, maybe prepared for that a little bit. Um, on the other hand, we were talking about Middle Tennessee and servicing a lot of people that, that are moving here from other places. Middle Tennessee, even back in '08, I was doing inspections.
I'm sorry. I just watched my wife try to
Yeah,
sneak across the bottom of the screen.
she's done that like 3 times. She'll like sneak under,
I heard her doing an army crawl the other day. You
oh
don't
my
have
God.
to do that. It's okay.
Yeah, yeah. You,
Maybe
if
I
you
should set up somewhere else.
well, or I was thinking if you weren't such a nice guy, maybe you could set up a booby trap, hang some Coke cans or something.
There you go.
So
Anyway, didn't mean to interrupt.
yeah, no, no, no. I don't have obviously. Honestly, I feel like the real estate agents and lenders, are going to have a little bit more educated view of what's coming or what to look for. I don't have any idea, but I do know that we live in an absolutely blessed part of the country. Back in '08, when everything fell apart, Premier Home Inspection grew. We thrived, we changed, we adapted, we did everything we could do to serve people, and we grew. And I think there's opportunities for all of us to survive this, and like I said, come out stronger on the backside of it. Um,
Can you talk about what happened in '08 and how that resulted in your growth? What are some things that you learned then that might apply to business owners now?
so I had been in business, I guess it would have been 2 years at that point. No, I had been doing home inspections for longer than that, but I had started my company, I think it was 2 years before that happened in '08. So I was in that constant marketing, constant growth mode. I would do home inspections all day, and then any new home buyer class I could find, any real estate sales meeting I could be. I was taking pizzas to real estate offices. I was doing everything I could do to grow before the quote unquote crash hit. And I feel like maybe a lot of inspectors weren't doing that. They were on cruise control. So I've always felt like that helped a lot. I know prayer helped a lot, though. I can't discount that at all. Um, and I don't know really, Aaron, just being willing to just work my fingers to the bone.
Mhm.
Um, and also, I really feel like there's a lot of power in being positive and not when I catch myself in conversations with people and it starts going negative or the doom and gloom stuff, I'm backing out of that conversation. There's no good energy in that for me. I think we need to be bringing light to the table, and I think people are attracted to that. Also, another piece I noticed, in the home inspection industry, I've noticed over the years, and also even now on some of the professional pages that I follow on Facebook and stuff like that, the home inspector pages, a lot of these guys are part time, or they don't view this like it is their full time career. If they'll get 5 or 6 inspections in a week, they're happy. Well, I've never been happy with that. I wanted more than I could do, so that when hard times hit, we're going to be okay, maybe even grow. Because a lot of the other times, a lot of other companies, home inspection companies back in '08, they just folded up. So I think that helped us a lot. Um, Now, this situation, I don't know. I mean, I feel like we're going to have to wait and see how long does this, are we looking at 3, 4 more weeks? Are we looking at, I've read reports up to 18 months.
Mhm.
But you know what? Either way, people have got to buy houses. They're going to either downgrade or downsize, or they're going to buy bigger houses. They're going to move for jobs. So real estate, in my little opinion, is always going to be here until we decide to start living in tents and cardboard boxes. Houses are going to be necessary. So,
Oh, sure, sure. And
I feel like,
regarding Middle Tennessee, the fundamental reason why people move to Middle Tennessee, the economy, the weather, the people, we're a tourist area that's going to come back.
That's right.
And so the fundamental reasons that we've had one of the hottest markets in the country for a decade hasn't changed. Those reasons haven't changed, and so we will see this come back.
That's right.
Will there be adjustments? Is there, are we going to see some changes? Is it going to be difficult? Will there have to be some belt tightening on the part of individuals and organizations? Sure,
Mhm.
but I can't imagine why anybody, 6 months from now, a year from now, or whenever, um, that is renting won't want to. If it was always their idea to buy their own home, they're going to want to buy their own home.
Yeah.
Big families that now the parents are empty nesters. They're going to want to downsize and all of that stuff. So it's gonna it's gonna come back. It's just a question of when and what does it look like when that happens.
Yeah. And something that you just sparked a memory I had, and you'll probably remember this. I know a lot of agents will remember when it seemed like there was one point, maybe between '08 and let's say 2010, 2012-ish, every third home inspection was a home that had been foreclosed.
Hmm.
And as home inspectors, those were harder jobs for us because those foreclosed homes had not been maintained for the most part. When we were coming in to do a foreclosed home, it was always harder. And by harder, it means it had a lot more issues from not being maintained. A lot of times the heat had been off the electricity had been off for a long time. So there were environmental things we were dealing with. Plumbing had been turned off, and then when you turn it back on, that just a lot more issues. So we may end up there may be an opportunity there that's going to keep guys like me and you rocking and rolling because these houses aren't just going to go away. Somebody's going to buy them if people foreclose or if they're if they sell to move on or whatever. Investors will pop back in, and there's a lot of money being made back then for investors, and it's a great opportunity for them too. So I really hope it doesn't get to that again, but we're looking at some pretty steep unemployment. Hopefully, it's just temporary, but
Hopefully, it's temporary. We'll see.
we'll see.
That's the thing is we don't know, and you see the talking heads, and there's a lot of doom and gloom out there, and at the same time, I saw on one of the websites that China 2 months out of it, they're hugging and back to normal, and life is good for them again. And so the question is, if it's 2 months for us, then is that what we'll be doing too? And
Yeah,
what people, what businesses are going to be able to retain their employees and to proceed forward. There are lots of unknowns. We don't know, but
yeah,
we rely on our faith. We understand that the times that we live in are difficult, and we reach out to each other, to fellow business owners and fellow believers, and say, "Hey, how can I help? What can I do?"
yeah. And I was having a conversation with someone today as we were running on a trail, and when you run on a trail, you're not looking at the cliff that you could fall off if you take a misstep. You're not looking at the tree that you could run into if you're not watching. You're looking at where your next step goes. You're looking at maybe two steps ahead, but you're really focused on what's next. What is my next action? And we kind of brought that back to what we're doing right now. And, focusing on what could happen that's negative, there's no point to that. It doesn't help anything. We need to be thinking about what we can do. What is our next point of action? And what can we do to be a light? As you and I both, you're a real estate agent, I'm a home inspector, but we are really salespeople. We are really marketers. We are really out there and essentially trying to present ourselves in a way that brings trust and communication and service to people. And through this situation, you could be in line at the grocery store, hopefully 6 feet away, and you could have a conversation with someone, and you bring light and positivity and peace and also confidence to that conversation. at the same time you hand over your sanitized business card, well, down the road, they're going to remember that, they're going to remember that light, any point of light and positivity that comes along. I feel like there's an opportunity for us to, look at that as a marketing opportunity. Like I said earlier, I'm just not going to have the negative conversations. So
Yeah, no, I think I think it's smart. I think it's the thing that will keep you and people like ourselves steady and moving forward. And really, the reality is that when I am at my worst, when I'm at my negative, my depressed, all of that, focused on the worst case scenarios, then I'm not helping anybody.
yeah, that's right.
And the way for you and I to help people requires that our mindset is looking for opportunities to help other people, and you're not doing that if you're drawn inside yourself and worried and scared.
Yeah, that's right.
So
Yeah. That's all I know to do, man. I don't have a crystal ball, and ultimately, this steps out of bounds of business, but ultimately, you and I, neither one, are in charge of what happens.
nope.
Um, we believe, we pray, we trust, and we serve others. And even in the best of times, that's what we're supposed to be doing. So
Yeah. Well, and
yeah,
you've got a good it's like a family, a good team of people around you, and I know you're looking out for them, and just really honestly being responsive to what the CDC says to do, things like that. That is a testament to your care and concern for your neighbors, for your workmates, for the clients that you serve, for the agents that you serve, and I appreciate it. I think
yeah,
it's very welcome, and I also welcome that you're still in business. You're still moving forward, and not to take anything away from anybody that's made the decision
right,
not to go inside other people's houses right now.
right,
Right?
right,
Nobody wants to be a vector. Don't be a vector. Yeah, that's what the phrase is now.
yeah,
But at the same time, if we can serve people and do it in a sanitary way without putting anybody at risk, then I respect your ability to do that.
yeah. We're gonna keep trying while we can. So
Yeah. Anything else that you want to let folks know about Brent Scott or Premier Home Inspection?
um, I don't know. I feel like I covered it all. Just the biggest thing I would convey, if you're looking to buy or sell, it may be the best time you've seen in a long time to do it. So,
Yeah,
you know, I wouldn't be afraid of that. Move forward, do it
yeah.
if you
There's
can.
some deals out there, and there's some
Yeah,
sellers that were anticipating a frenzy at their
yeah,
homes, and it's not happening. I know our company two or 3 weeks ago, as soon as the CDC said no more than 10 people, we said we're not doing open houses.
yeah.
And I immediately called my photographer who does the 3D 360 scans, and all right, put this one on the schedule because somebody still wants to look around the house.
That's right.
Yeah, so we're pivoting, adjusting as needed.
Pivot.
Um,
Yeah, that's been a big word on my mind lately. Is pivot.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, good deal. Well, thank you, sir. I
Thank
appreciate
you,
the
Aaron.
conversation.
Absolutely.
And I'll end the recording and filter out the ums and the ahs as much as possible. But basically, if you don't care, I'm gonna do it pretty much unedited. If
That's
that's
fine.
all right, just throw it
That's
up there.
fine.
I mean, I don't think either of us said anything goofy. So
No more than normally, and there's really not much you can do with the way I look. That I'm doing the best I can with that.
same here, same here. Hey, there is. I found this on. If you get into the Zoom video settings, you can tell it to touch up your face, which is kind of
Saw that the other night on one. I didn't play around with it because I was afraid I'd mess something up. But I might
this is already messed up. So
I might crash the website, man. I'm afraid
we're all a little self-conscious. It'll be interesting to see what this does to, if it were to last a long time. And I really don't think it will, but if it were, then communicating this way through the video, it has to do something to people's self image, because you're looking at yourself talk to
yeah,
somebody else all the time.
yeah.
I don't know.
maybe it's a positive thing. I mean, it could be,
Could be.
because I know we sure focus too much on it. We're about to find out who has great hair.